Carl Jung's final warning: energy parasites know you're an empath and hunt you. That dizzying connection with your soulmate isn't destiny. It's a customized psychological hologram preparing for a spiritual slaughter. They don't want your love, they want your life force. Stay until the end to discover how to weaponize your trauma and turn from perfect prey into the absolute master. A warning from the shadows and the survival origins of the empath. There is a silent, ruthless hunt happening right now. At this exact second, as you listen to my voice, you are being stalked. You might be sitting alone in a locked room, feeling perfectly safe, but the predators are already inside your mind. They do not have fangs or claws. They do not hide in dark alleyways. They walk among us, disguised as friends, lovers, and family members. They are entities existing purely as psychological voids, individuals who have completely severed all ties with their own inner light. Carl Jung, one of humanity's greatest explorers of the deep unconscious, spent his entire life descending into the terrifying abyss of the human psyche. He understood a chilling truth that most are too afraid to admit. The world is not just filled with wandering souls looking for salvation, it is infested with invisible shadows. These psychological parasites roam aimlessly, driven by an eternal, insatiable starvation. And what they crave is not your money, it is not your physical body or your earthly power. The ultimate delicacy that feeds their gaping emptiness is your profound, bleeding compassion. This is not a battle of the physical realm. This is absolute spiritual warfare, and Ground Zero is the most intimate sanctuary of your inner world. The inner multiverse warmly welcomes you. If this chilling truth resonates with the unspoken fears hiding within your soul, I urge you to subscribe to this channel right now. Your support is the vital energy that fuels our journey into the darkest depths of the human psyche, allowing us to bring back the profound truths you need to survive. Hit the subscribe button and let us face the darkness together. Now we must shatter a beautiful, suffocating lie. We must utterly destroy the romanticized, toxic illusion that society has fed you since birth. People love to paint the empath as a tragic angel with broken wings, a fragile, crystalline being sent down from the heavens to heal a shattered world. That is a sweet, seductive lie designed to keep you asleep in the role of a perpetual victim. I need you to hear this with your soul. Your extreme empathy is not some mystical superpower dropped from the sky. It is a desperate, brutal survival mechanism. It was forged in the agonizing fires of your childhood trauma. I want you to close your eyes and walk backward through the timeline of your life. Look at that small, terrified child inside of you. That child did not grow up in a garden of unconditional love. They grew up in a profoundly unpredictable emotional war zone. A house where love was weaponized, where affection came with impossible conditions, or where the sudden, violent emotional storms of adults could annihilate their sense of safety at any given moment. To simply stay alive, to avoid the psychological shrapnel, that child could not afford the luxury of innocence. They had to mutate. They had to become an absolute master of mind reading. Think about it. You had to learn how to scan the microscopic shifts in your mother's breathing, the hidden tension in your father's footsteps, the suffocating, terrifying silence that always preceded a catastrophic screaming match. That childhood defense mechanism did not magically disappear when you grew taller. It evolved. It hardened into a hyper-vigilant emotional radar that is permanently switched on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, draining your life force. You walk into a crowded room and instantly, involuntarily absorb the unspoken grief of a complete stranger. You wear this like a badge of honor. You call it intuition. You call it a gift. But the clinical, heartbreaking truth is that your nervous system is trapped in a permanent state of hyperarousal. Your trauma detector is endlessly broadcasting sonar pings into the dark to ensure your environment is safe. But here is the ultimate tragedy of the empath. This very invisible frequency, this desperate energy wave scanning for pain, acts as a blinding neon light in the pitch-black spiritual realm. It sends out a beacon to the energy predators. They see you instantly. They recognize the frantic pulse of someone who is terrified of conflict. They know with absolute certainty that you are the perfect host, a beautiful, tragic soul who will willingly starve themselves to death just to feed a stranger. The anatomy of the void, and the predator's mirror. To understand why these energy predators are so magnetically drawn to your blinding neon light, we must dare to look directly into the absolute nothingness that exists where their soul should be. We are conditioned to think of evil or malice as a tangible presence, a dark substance that fills a person up. But psychological predators operate on an entirely different law of physics. They are not full of darkness. They are defined by a catastrophic emptiness. Imagine a black hole suspended in deep space. It has no light of its own, no warmth, no inherent life. Its entire existence is predicated on its massive, crushing gravity, a force designed solely to pull surrounding matter into its core to sustain its own structural integrity. This is the exact spiritual architecture of the emotional vampire, the narcissist, the sociopath. They suffered a psychological death long ago, usually in their own childhoods, where their authentic self was so deeply traumatized or rejected that they simply amputated it. They threw their true self into the abyss and replaced it with a hollow, magnificent, heavily armored false construct. But a false construct has no heartbeat. It cannot generate its own life force. It must steal it. When this psychological black hole encounters your frantic, pulsing wave of hyper-empathy, it does not approach you with fangs bared. It approaches you with a mirror. This is the most chilling, brilliant, and devastatingly effective weapon in their arsenal. Because your radar is constantly broadcasting everything you feel, everything you fear, and everything you desperately long for, the predator simply reads your data. Within moments of meeting you, they download your deepest insecurities, your unspoken dreams of being understood, and your childhood wounds. Then, with the precision of a master illusionist, they twist their hollow shell into the exact shape of your ultimate salvation. They reflect your own brilliant light back into your eyes, blinding you to their true nature. You think you are looking at your soulmate, your twin flame, the one person on this earth who finally speaks the hidden language of your heart. In reality, you are staring at a customized psychological hologram designed specifically to bypass your defenses. You feel an intense, intoxicating rush of connection, a chemical high that convinces you that destiny has finally intervened. But listen to me carefully. That feeling of immediate, dizzying familiarity is not the universe blessing your union. It is your traumatized nervous system recognizing a familiar danger. It is the echo of your chaotic childhood playing out in real time, disguised as romance or profound friendship. The predator knows that because you were conditioned to earn love by managing the emotional states of erratic adults, you will instinctively take responsibility for their happiness. They offer you a beautifully constructed stage where you can play out your deepest, most tragic fantasy. The belief that if you just love someone hard enough, if you just bleed enough compassion, you can heal them. They present themselves as a misunderstood genius, a wounded bird, a victim of a cruel world, knowing precisely that your trauma-forged empathy cannot resist a rescue mission. You do not realize that the cage door has just been locked from the outside. You are standing on the precipice of a spiritual slaughter, utterly convinced that you are walking into paradise. They do not want your healing. They want your surrender. They are preparing to siphon the very essence of your being, drop by drop, while convincing you that you are the one holding the knife. The lethal dance and the illusion of the savior. Once this flawless, custom-made mask is firmly in place and the psychological mirroring is complete, the trap snaps shut, plunging you into a mesmerizing and lethal dance of spiritual destruction. This is where the true horror of the trauma bond begins to unfold, a slow-motion catastrophe that strips away your sanity with such deliberate subtlety that you actually apologize for the damage being done to you. The predator, having secured your total devotion, can no longer sustain the exhausting performance of being your perfect mirror. The mask begins to slip, not all at once, but in agonizing, confusing micro-moments. A sudden flash of inexplicable cruelty, a cold, dead stare where warmth used to reside, a staggering lack of empathy when you are sick, vulnerable, or in need. But because your brain is completely addicted to the initial golden phase of the relationship, your mind violently rejects this new reality. Cognitive dissonance rips through your psyche like a chainsaw. You cannot reconcile the angelic savior you fell in love with and the cold-blooded stranger standing before you. So your survival mechanism does what it was trained to do in childhood. It takes the blame. You convince yourself that you must have done something wrong to cause their withdrawal. You start analyzing your own behavior, walking on eggshells, like shrinking your personality and modulating your voice, desperately trying to decode the secret algorithm that will bring the loving version of them back. The predator watches this frantic scrambling with a quiet, hidden delight. To them, your desperate attempts to appease them are a supreme delicacy. It confirms their absolute power and control. They begin to deploy gaslighting, a form of psychological warfare so insidious it dismantles your basic grip on reality. They will rewrite history to your face, flatly denying events that you know happened, twisting your legitimate grievances into proof that you are crazy, overly sensitive, or abusive. And because your empathy demands that you always consider the other person's perspective, you let them hack into your mind. You willingly surrender the steering wheel of your own reality. This is the phase where you willingly starve yourself to feed the void. You pour oceans of love, patience, and resources into their black hole, genuinely believing that the sheer volume of your compassion will eventually fill them up. You forgive the unforgivable. You compromise your most sacred values. You isolate yourself from friends and family because you are too exhausted to explain the constant chaos and deeply ashamed of the hollow shell you are becoming. The tragic irony is that every ounce of forgiveness you offer is translated by the predator as permission to destroy you further. They do not respect your unconditional love. They view it as a pathetic weakness, a green light to push the boundaries of cruelty even further. You are engaged in a frantic, bloody rescue mission, giving CPR to a corpse, entirely unaware that the corpse is slowly strangling you. The more you diminish, the larger they seem to grow, inflated by the vital life force they are draining from your veins. You are no longer living. You are merely surviving on the breadcrumbs of affection they sporadically drop just to keep you on the hook. You are trapped in an invisible prison built from your own beautiful, misplaced compassion, locked in a dance with a phantom that intends to ride your spirit all the way into the ground. The abrupt collapse and the dark night of the soul. But no human spirit, no matter how profoundly compassionate or fiercely resilient, can bleed indefinitely without eventually collapsing into the ultimate abyss. There comes a day, an hour, a precise terrifying second when the last drop of your vital energy is finally consumed. The collapse is not graceful. It is a catastrophic, bone-shattering impact against rock bottom. Often, this is the moment the predator discards you. Having drained you of everything that made you vibrant and useful, they look at your exhausted, graying shell with absolute disgust and move on to a fresh, glowing target without a backward glance. Or, perhaps, your physical body simply gives out, manifesting the severe, unhealed trauma in autoimmune diseases, chronic pain, or debilitating panic attacks, forcing the relationship to implode. Whichever way the end arrives, you are violently thrust into the dark night of the soul. This is a psychological wasteland, a terrifying isolation where all the comforting illusions of your life are incinerated, leaving nothing but ashes and cold, hard truth. In this suffocating darkness, the pain is so immense, it feels as though you are breathing crushed glass. You are grieving not just the loss of the relationship, but the horrifying realization that the person you loved more than life itself never actually existed. You are mourning a ghost, but the true terror of the dark night of the soul is not about them. It is about you. In the haunting silence of your shattered life, Carl Jung's shadow steps forward from the deepest corners of your unconscious. You can no longer point the finger outward. The brutal, necessary question arises, why did I let them do this to me? Why did I open the door to the predator, hand them a knife, and apologize when I bled on their floor? This is the moment of absolute reckoning. You are forced to look at the terrified, wounded child inside of you who believed that love had to be agonizing to be real. You must face the uncomfortable truth that your hyper-empathy was not just a gift. It was a deeply ingrained trauma response, a desperate bid for control in a world that never felt safe. You must confront the shadow aspect of your own compassion, the part of you that used self-sacrifice as a manipulation tactic to secure love, The part of you that believed if you just made yourself indispensable, you would never be abandoned. This realization is agonizing. It strips away the comforting badge of the martyr. You realize that your lack of boundaries was a profound betrayal of your own soul. You handed the sacred keys of your inner kingdom to a marauding thief because you did not believe you were worthy of holding them yourself. The dark night is an ego death. It feels like madness, like you are unraveling thread by thread. But this absolute destruction is not a punishment. It is an excavation. The universe, or your own higher self, has allowed this total demolition of your false reality because the foundation you built your life upon was thoroughly rotten. You are sitting in the wreckage of your own beautiful lies. The suffering is nearly unbearable, but it is deeply purposeful. You are being forced to strip away everything you are not, burning off the toxic conditioning of your past, to uncover the indestructible diamond-hard core of truth that lies buried beneath the rubble. The alchemical rebirth and the forging of the warrior. Yet, it is precisely here, at the absolute shattered bottom of this suffocating darkness, that the true magnificent alchemy of your soul finally begins. Out of the ashes of your destroyed ego, a new entity starts to take form. You do not rise as the fragile, tragic angel with broken wings that you once believed yourself to be. That version of you is dead, rightfully buried in the wasteland. You rise as a sovereign warrior. The alchemical fire of your suffering has transmuted your desperate, bleeding compassion into something terrifyingly powerful, fierce, unapologetic wisdom. You suddenly understand that your empathy was never the problem. The problem was that your empathy lacked the iron gates of boundaries. You realize that true love, both for yourself and others, is not about being a bottomless well for parasites to drink from. It is about conscious, deliberate giving, guarded by an absolute willingness to say the word no. In this rebirth, you finally integrate your Jungian shadow. You reclaim the sacred protective energy of anger. For your entire life, you suppressed your anger, believing it was toxic, dangerous, and unempathic. Now you see anger for what it truly is, your soul's immune system, a divine fire that flares up to tell you when a boundary is being violated. You stop fearing conflict. You no longer scan crowded rooms, frantically searching for emotional landmines to defuse. Instead, your hypervigilant radar is repurposed. It becomes a finely tuned intuition that instantly detects the hollow frequency of the predator. When you see the black hole disguised as a savior, you no longer feel the hypnotic urge to heal them. You feel a calm, chilling clarity, and you simply walk the other way. You stop offering your life force as an all-you-can-eat buffet to wandering ghosts. Your energy becomes a closed circuit, circulating back into your own healing, your own passions, and your own glorious expansion. This is the ultimate triumph of the empath. You do not lose your ability to love deeply, to feel profoundly, or to connect with the subtle frequencies of the universe. In fact, your capacity for genuine love expands exponentially because it is finally rooted in profound self-respect. You realize that you cannot heal a world infested with invisible shadows by bleeding to death in front of them. You heal the world by becoming a blinding, untouchable pillar of sovereign light. You teach people how to treat you by ruthlessly refusing to tolerate anything less than authentic, reciprocal respect. The predator relies on your ignorance, your guilt, and your fear of abandonment. But the awakened empath has already survived the absolute worst. You have walked through the valley of the shadow of death, faced the void, and resurrected yourself from the dirt. You are no longer prey. You are a sovereign architect of your own reality, holding the keys to the inner multiverse firmly in your own hands. You have broken the generational curse of your childhood, forged your trauma into an impenetrable shield, and stepped into the staggering power of who you were always meant to be. The hunt is over because the prey has just become the master. And finally, conclusion. The journey from being preyed upon to becoming a sovereign warrior is a harrowing but profoundly necessary spiritual evolution. Emotional predators operate as psychological black holes, devoid of their own life force, surviving only by mirroring your deepest desires and siphoning your radiant empathy. This trap thrives on your unhealed childhood wounds, tricking your nervous system into confusing the chaos of trauma with the passion of true love. As the mask inevitably slips, you are dragged into a devastating cycle of gaslighting, self-blame, and agonizing depletion, pouring your essence into a void that can never be filled. Yet, the inevitable collapse, the dark night of the soul, is not your destruction, but your ultimate liberation. It forces a brutal reckoning with your own shadow, demanding that you recognize how your boundless compassion, when devoid of boundaries, became a tool for self-betrayal. From the ashes of this shattered illusion, you do not just recover, you are alchemically reborn. You reclaim anger as your soul's protective immune system and forge your hyper-empathy into a finely tuned radar for truth. By sealing off your energy from emotional vampires, you transform your suffering into an impenetrable shield of self-respect. You are no longer the wounded healer bleeding out for those who refuse to heal. You rise as an awakened architect of your own reality, recognizing that the most profound act of love you can offer the world is to become an untouchable, sovereign beacon of light. The profound lesson: true compassion does not require self-immolation. Empathy without ironclad boundaries is not a virtue. It is a profound vulnerability that invites exploitation. You cannot heal a fundamentally broken person by allowing them to break you, and authentic love will never demand the sacrifice of your sanity, your reality, or your vital life force. How to apply this to your life? Start by redefining your relationship with the word no. Treat your personal energy as a sacred, finite currency. When you meet someone new, pay close attention to how your nervous system reacts. If a connection feels dizzyingly intense or chaotic right away, step back and objectively evaluate whether it is a genuine connection or a triggered trauma response. Reclaim your anger. When you feel a flash of resentment or discomfort, recognize it as a divine alert that a boundary is being crossed, and voice it without guilt. Stop trying to fix or over-explain yourself to people who consistently drain you. Instead, redirect your immense capacity for love and healing back into your own life, protecting your peace at all costs. Question for the community: have you ever experienced a relationship or friendship where you felt completely exhausted after trying to help or save the other person? Please share your experiences in the comments below so we can all learn and draw strength from each other's perspectives. If you found value in this video, please hit the subscribe button to support the channel. Your support is our greatest motivation to keep creating deep, empowering content for you.